are so grateful for the Rice River Center that he works with and all the work that they do to protect and track the sturgeon, and they're going to go into a lot of detail about what that work entails. Also leading today's session is Jamie Brunkow, our riverkeeper. And with that, I'll turn it over to the two of them to talk about the great return of the Atlantic sturgeon. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kristen. So I think my job more so today is to facilitate the session a bit and really to turn over the attention to Matt and let him shine and talk about all the fantastic work that he does, which is really interesting. But to kind of help set the stage, I think I said I'd provide just a little bit of brief background on Atlantic sturgeon, some of the history with that species, and why we are, aside from the fact that they're just really neat, I guess, why are we so focused on them and concerned about them and spending today's session talking about them? Well, they are a really neat, interesting fish. This is a fish that has been around for millions of years. You've probably heard the expression, the living fossil, that they've swam with dinosaurs. Those are all true facts. These fish have been around a very long time. And there are species of sturgeon all over the world. The Atlantic sturgeon, however, is an endangered species. It was listed as endangered in 2012. And that their low population numbers along the Atlantic coast in the Chesapeake Bay and also in the James River as a result of overfishing primarily. We know that a lot of heavy commercial fishing took place in the late 1800s and the early part of the 20th century, to the point that we really thought sturgeon were gone from the James River and from other segments of the Chesapeake Bay. Things have changed quite a bit. We've had other sessions, cocktail hours on the health of the James River and water quality. And so some of you may have listened in it and you know that the story has changed in the last century. The 20th century, we saw some major things come online, the Clean Water Act, major reductions in pollution levels. In 1974, the Virginia Marine Resources Commission banned sturgeon fishing. And so we've actually had a moratorium in place on capture of sturgeon for a long time. And as Matt, I think, will probably allude to, we're starting to really see the results of that moratorium and probably some other positive things that have happened in the James too, water quality and improvements to habitat. We're so grateful for Matt's work. He's got a story that I can't live up to. I could try to give my version of it, but he has such a personal story because he grew up along the river. He saw some of the major impacts from things like the Keystone spill, which he saw sort of the wake of growing up. And he's also was one of the first ones, I think, to work on sturgeon over a decade ago when we thought there weren't really any left in the James. So we're going to spend the next 45 minutes or so letting Matt show off some things he's got with him out there on the boat, answer some of your questions about Atlantic sturgeon, and I'll just be chiming in to kind of help out here and there. I want to say one quick plug for the VCU Rice Rivers Center. VCU has sponsored this research and Matt's work all this time, and we've worked with Dr. Greg Garman, Matt Balazik, and others on some fantastic partnerships, but it's really VCU that has been doing the tagging and the funding through grants to continue this research over the last over a decade. Matt, I'm going to stop there, turn it over to you, and I can chime in later in more of a conversational tone as we start to get questions and talk about sturgeon.
Sure. So I'm going to share my. Can I share my screen just for a little while?
Oh yeah, you should have permissions ready to go.
It says disabled.
Okay. Can we give him permissions, Sarah?
Yes. No, Sarah's working on the back end. I just tried to make you a co-host, but let me see if I can. She might have the power on the back end.
Okay. I think that's it.
We got it.
There it is.
All right. I'll pop this open. I have no idea the best way of doing this.
Well, Matt, tell us where you
plans
are.
have changed multiple. Oh, I'm at right in front of Berkeley Plantation, and a little bit downstream of Berkeley Plantation. Benjamin Harrison Bridge. This is R98. That's going to be important to remember later. Coast Guard Beacon. Rice Center is right there, about 2 kilometers that way, and Jordan Point is right down there. So this is interesting because I have no idea the best way of doing this. Can you guys at least see my little video as well, or just the big page?
No, we can see you as well, Matt.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. So this is just a generic intro slide. Again, if you want to know a lot more of what's going on out here, we do have the James River Sturgeon Facebook page, which a lot of people have been coming to or reporting ship strikes, which is what's behind me right now. We'll talk about that when we get to the anatomy, or we'll talk about those when we get to the anatomy, but all kinds of cool stuff that's pretty much updated every few days, or once there's something really worth sharing. Is my volume okay? Like, am I coming through to everyone? Just thumbs up? Okay, perfect. So like Jamie talked about, this is a gigantic partnership, the James River work, and from people who are letting us tie our boats up to people who are providing a lot of the funding. So we want to acknowledge everybody that this is quite the undertaking. We'll skip that. Okay, so the Atlantic sturgeon attributes, it's kind of when all the bony fish like 150 million years ago went right, Atlantic or sturgeon went left, and they survived. So so this is one behind me. Oh, let me just get sorry. Okay, so we'll just go here. Of course, everything's moved because the wind has picked up. So the telltale sign of sturgeon, the kind of the thing that most people that stands out is obviously their size, which we'll get to in a second, but it's also their scoots. So so this is their scales. They don't have scales like a, where's my knife? Oh, it's right on the computer. So this is what their scales look like. This is actually a lateral scale. This is actually bone, calcium phosphate. I don't know, there's a small ridge on it that will cut you and all that. So as you can see on this one, you know, they're already there when they're born, or just about a week or so old. And they have these on their sides, and then they have them along the back here. And on the ventral side, the ones on the back have a really pronounced ridge. Those are the ones that really cut you up, and you really don't enjoy getting cut by them, but that's part of the job. So that's the size. Something else that's pretty neat. Forget the slideshow. This ain't gonna work. Or can you see the fish okay? I see. Okay, okay. So a lot of people always wonder what they eat. All they do is go along the bottom, sucking up bugs and mud, digesting the bugs, excrete the mud. They have this really big mouth on the bottom here that goes way out. They just go along, going like this, munching, munching, munching. And the biggest things in the world eat the smallest thing in the world. These things eat stuff that's only a couple millimeters long. They also have barbels that help them sense electrical to find prey. And they also, you're not going to be able to see this on the video, but they have ampullae and lorenzini, just like sharks. They're not sharks, though. Everyone thinks they're sharks, which you can understand with their maggots. you can kind of understand the way their shape is. They have a heterocircle tail with a higher dorsal, with a higher upper lobe, bigger upper lobe, and Pioid Lorenzini and all that, but they're not sharks. They're actually ray fin fish. You can't see it, but these fins aren't a big piece of cartilage. They're actually, and this right here is actually the leading ray. And we cut these off of the dead ones so we can actually age the fish. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. But that's kind of the crash course into the anatomy. Again, not perfect, but we do what we can do. Maggots. The typical male we deal with is one like this one right here. Just so you can get some size perspective, this is a little bit of a bigger female, a little bit on the bigger side. She's just over 8 feet long. This is the typical male we deal with. As you can tell, not very, this is the head of another one. Gruesome, but that's reality we need to talk about. So here is a typical male. You can see the difference in the sizes. The females are going to get much bigger because they have to hold all those eggs. And they're just one and done. We'll talk about spawning later. So this is the typical male, typical female. This is the biggest one that's ever been recorded, officially documented. It was back in like the 1920s, but that was after all the populations had crashed. And then this is going through old records. You know, they would talk about Brunkow brought in a sturgeon that was 4 tables long, equaling 18 feet or something like that, like back in the 1800s. So they can probably get over 18 feet long. Just a little perspective, though, the most famous sturgeon out there is the beluga sturgeon. You know, they've been documented at 24 feet long, but they've been, there's unofficial documents of over 32 feet. This is the biggest one I've worked with. We caught it down at Deepwater Shoals. It was a pre-spawn female, so we didn't get her in the boat. We didn't want to risk messing her up. This is just we measured alongside of the boat, did a quick workup, but we didn't want to stress her out by bringing her in the boat, and also for our own protection because she's a pretty muscular gal. And this is her right there. So we were talking about aging them. How do we age sturgeon? You know, most people age fish with an otolith, their ear stone, but you have to kill a fish to do that. So obviously we can't do that. So luckily for us, we can take just a small section of this leading ray right here and shine light through it, and then you can get these bands. And these bands are a kind of a winter because they are ectotherms, which means their growth rate is going to be really dependent. Their growth rate and metabolism is going to be based on temperature. So when it gets colder, they're going to grow less, they're going to grow slower, and they're going to form these rings. So you catch the fish, you can take a little section, you can count the rings, you can get how old they are, you can tell when they were born, what year they were born, a lot of management opportunity. I hate talking. I'd rather converse, so I'm just trying to go through all this stuff, and then we'll have a lot of time to converse later. So life history, these fish are anadromous. Latin for technically means to go up, to spawn pretty much. Just like shad and herring or in salmon, except these fish don't die after they spawn. They can spawn for decades. So they'll come up to, they live out in the ocean. They'll come up to fresh water. Typically, they come back and spawn where they were spawned. It's called site fidelity. And we can show that via genetics, that actually occurs. So they'll get together, males, and I say a female and multiple males likely. It's not pleasant. The females get pretty beat up during reproduction because there's got a lot of males fighting to get close to her to fertilize her eggs. So after a few weeks, they get to this point here where they look like little sturgeon. Those fish are only 5 centimeters long, 6 centimeters long, and they already look like little sturgeon. And they're going to be still in the fresh water. And until they get to about 2 years of age, they're going to stay in fresh water. So if it was spawned in the James River, it's going to be in the James River really for the first 2 years of its life. And then once they get from like 3 years old, they start to go out in the Chesapeake Bay a little more. And then once they get to about 5, they'll start to go out into the ocean. And when they once they're about 5, they're going to stay out in the ocean until they become sexually mature. And the James, male is going to be sexually mature around 10. Female is going to be mature around 15. It varies clinally. Like a Georgia fish, a male is going to be mature around 7. While up in the St. Lawrence, a male is going to be mature until around 21. So very long generation time. And then they only come back really to fresh water to spawn, this is a picture that Aaron Bouchard took of a spring spawn fish that we caught right there at Castile Wildlife Hatchery. So, going to the range, we're talking about the James River.
Hey, Matt, maybe you could tell us briefly about your life history. Who's that guy in the photo with you there in that last slide?
Oh, so that's Martin. He's my brother. He has been working with me since we really started to get this going back in 2009. And yeah, he couldn't be out here today. He had to work. He couldn't stay out this late. He had to work. So he came out this morning while we were doing some stuff there. So yeah, that's my big brother, Martin, who's just like me in that, except he saw more of the stuff with the keep-hone, because we grew up literally right around this corner here, just downstream of Bailey's Creek, where they were dumping the keep-hone. Jamestown is known as the fish that saved Jamestown. It provided a lot of nourishment during the starving time of 1609. That was pretty fun work that I got to do with the folks at Jamestown. This picture in the top right corner is actually a sturgeon spine that was sectioned, and we could do actually age and growth of the Atlantic sturgeon population before or right when Europeans settled in Virginia. So that was actually pretty neat work. And okay, we'll skip this because I know we don't have a lot of time. As Jamie was talking about, the 1974 moratorium in Virginia, which did a lot of good for Virginia, or some good for Virginia, but you have to realize these fish are anadromous, which means they live out in the ocean. So you could have a James River fish, nice, beautiful female. She's protected while she's here, but then she goes off of New Jersey, and she'll get caught there. She could have still gotten caught and harvested there, offshore. So it really wasn't until 1998 when the ASMFC put in a complete moratorium on all sturgeon harvest. And as Jamie talked about, in 2012, it was listed as an endangered species. So you can see the population crash. This is Virginia's number when back in like 1890, over 800,000 pounds were harvested in Virginia. Then you look by 1918, it was down to like 20. And it's just their goal was to make caviar. So they would catch the females, they would kill them, take the roe, and they were just so shocked at why the population was crashing. It's the whole thing of just blatant ignorance. I mean, it's an inexhaustible resource, and we all know how those stories go. So this is the national landings. Again, happened everywhere. So the James River, as Jamie was talking about, was considered to be functionally extirpated, which means that it's not gone from the James, but the population is so low that it can't rebound. So there was an experimental stocking of some Hudson River fish in Maryland rivers, and then there was a reward program to catch those fish. And I think that's something that Albert Spells was a part with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, who just retired. And I think he said they ran out of money in like 2 or 3 days because they were giving commercial fishers cash for when they brought in a sturgeon. And the thing is when they ran the genetics and they looked at the size of the fish, like over 90% of them weren't those stocked fish. So they were like, wait a minute, there's more sturgeon here than we thought. And I was like, well, if you want to know if there's a fish out there, you put a reward on it, and commercial fishers will probably find it. If they don't find it, nobody will. And then in 2004, about 500 meters to a kilometer behind me, or towards Westover, is where this little fish here was caught in a trawl, and that fish had obviously been spawned in the James River, which showed that there was still reproduction going on in the James River. Awesome. Okay, study areas, boo. Okay, so sampling. I didn't know what the audience was, so like I said, we'll just do a quick shotgun blast, and then we can just talk later. So we do 3 types of sampling. We do trawling, this is where we pull just a net through the water. We do gill netting, which is just a big mesh net that the fish swim into. And now we're starting to do a lot of sonar sampling. So we're very proud to say, the James River is proud to say, that it actually has 2 different spawning populations that are actually genetically distinct. There's a spring run and there's a fall run, and it's a whole 5-hour conversation on how we got to that point. But just to put it in perspective, if we were talking about a fall run in the James River not even 10 years ago, people would say you're crazy. That's ridiculous. And these were sturgeon experts, and they were like, nah, there's no such thing. That's pretty dumb. So we kept on grinding on it. And now it's really, it's been accepted. And now people are starting to doubt the spring spawn, which, scientists. So if you get to the bottom left here, you'll see that that's kind of the different spawning runs. So you got the one on the top is the spring spawning run. They come in like April, and they're gone by June. And then the fall run, those fish will come up in June, or like anywhere from April to May, and stay in the lower river, and then come up and spawn in August, September, October. It's all based on temperatures. You can see this fall population seems to be way more robust than the spring. We've caught, prior to this year's sampling, we caught 769 unique fall adults, and with only 43 recaptures, compared to only 63 unique adults in the spring with 17 recaptures. So we are very concerned about the spring population. So this just give you a little perspective. Day on the picture on the left, that's a good day in the spring, when you catch 2. And in the fall, we do things to limit the number we catch, because we can mess up and end up catching like 30 in an hour, which does happen. And we try to avoid that. But one thing they do have in common is they get pretty ticked. They're pretty, I don't want to say aggressive, because, we are messing with them, but they can be, and they're powerful fish. And that was one of the most painful bruises I had. I had that for like a week. Like, this is just what had happened. So that was a fall run male that did not want to get into the boat and actually got away. But he earned it. And then you'll see on the one on the right, that's just typical what your shins are going to be. I mean, especially when it's really hot, you can't wear a lot of clothes, because you'll just, die of sweat, of heat exhaustion. So your shins are going to get pretty much beat up. Management nightmare. So subadults, we really don't deal with subadults much, because they're mostly out in the ocean in the lower Chesapeake Bay, and we really want to focus on the James River population. So we really go on them, target them when they're small, 0 to 2, 0 to 3 years old, and when they're adult spawning. So we deal very little with them. Sometimes we catch them in our juvenile nets. So juveniles, this is another 5-hour talk that prior to 2015, we had caught almost 200,000 fish in our juvenile surveys, and we had not caught a juvenile sturgeon. And a lot of concern. We don't know what's causing the potential lack of recruitment. In 2016, we got very excited, and we caught 2 and we know that they were age 1 fish now, or they were age 1 fish when we caught them. We caught 4 in 2017, and we caught 4 in 2018. We had not changed our methods, so this just means that hopefully we had some stronger spawning years. But and that was in the gill nets. And the trawl, on the other hand, 2018 was just something that is in a movie. It was just really bizarre. And it actually started with, they beat us to it. JRA, they got 5 fish that were like this big, just around the corner up here, up the river, maybe like 5 kilometers. And we guess that we won't trawl up there because we snag so much. They have, the JRA, they have a nice standardized trawl that's clean. We used to try to trawl up there, but we just tore our nets up. So we wait till a little bit down here. And then it was like a week after, I think, Jamie, we started to catch them down here. So that was just tremendous. And we had caught 283 of these little guys, little fish that year. And they were all from that 2018 fall cohort.
Yeah, like you said, Matt, our education team, when they're doing education at Presque Isle National Wildlife Refuge, they're taking kids out on a pontoon boat and dragging a net behind in a trawl. And typically they're catching blue catfish and some hog chokers. And if they're lucky, maybe a few other species, some perch. And they were just so delighted to find those juvenile sturgeon. It actually scared the heck out of us. But we were excited that it kind of led to the next thing, which is the success that you had, Matt, which is incredible. 2018 was a really remarkable year.
Yeah. So what happened in 2018, or what we think, is that we had Florence, who just came and dumped, and Richmond got up to 62,000 CFS. The James River got up to 62,000 CFS right in the middle of September. So that seems to be what happened. I mean, that's the only thing that seems to be somewhat of an outlier compared to other years. And the interesting thing, though, is all the tagged females we had in the system, they didn't go further upstream. They still stayed relatively where they usually do. So we don't know if the better flows cleaned out some areas or what. So we don't know. But still, we're still catching those 2018 year class fish. And unfortunately, we haven't caught anything that we think is 2019. But we had some good flows at the right time this year. We got up to 40,000. It was a little early, but we got up to 40,000. So hopefully JRA and VCU will be catching some little ones in the trawl soon. Now, a lot of people don't realize this. There's actually another sturgeon species along the East Coast, and it's the short-nosed sturgeon. And that is a big mystery. Short-nosed residents in the James River or in the Chesapeake Bay. Again, that's another 5-hour talk, but VCU we caught the very first documented short-nosed in the James River, and we actually caught one that was a gravid female. We put a telemetry tag in her, and she actually went all the way back up to the Delaware River to spawn. So that's just fish, sturgeon, short-nosed going through the C&D, Chesapeake and Delaware Canal up in Maryland. I know this is a cluster, but there's a lot of stuff going on right now. So sonar, like this is the stuff that we're kind of used to seeing. That was that big staging aggregation back down at Deepwater Shoals. But now we've kind of upgraded our systems to much better stuff so that you can count the scoots on some of these things. So we're starting to do some population metrics using side scan sonar, looking at the habitat. You can tell that that's rocky bottom there on the right, which is perfect spawning habitat. That's up at Osborne, and a lot of fish hanging over top of it. So that's some of the newer stuff that we're doing. Workup. Okay. So whether the fish is 5 centimeters or 10 feet long, we kind of do similar things to them. We'll do the typical, you know, we will do like length, weights if possible. A lot of the adults we don't end up weighing because we're on a boat, it's bouncing, and you're never going to get an accurate weight. How was this ordered? Okay, so we do a T-tag, and I used my last ones up actually yesterday, so I don't have one with me, but it's just like you put it your clothing, like you see a clothing tag. It's just a little yellow spaghetti tag. You can see it in the picture here. It's one of our external tags, and it has a 5-digit number on it, and it has the contact number, which is for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Another way we kind of mark the fish is we take a fin clip, a little part of their fin, and you know, so that leaves a little mark on their fin, and we use that for genetic analysis. So that's one way. Another way we can mark them externally, and that heals pretty quick. We'd actually recaptured a fish that like 2 months after we had marked it, and it was already healed beautifully. And sometimes we'll do a fin ray, and that's what this is. You know, we'll do those on only the smaller fish. The bigger fish on live ones, it's too much. It's just too much stress on not only the fish but us as well. We don't like doing that, especially during a spawning run. Now, the tagging that we really do a lot of our mark recapture work with is pit tags, just like you chip your dog with a passive integrated transponder. We do the same thing with sturgeon. There's a little rice tag in here. We call it a rice tag because it looks like a piece of rice. You go over that, we'll scan the fish, and we'll plunge that right into its dorsal fin, at the base of its dorsal fin. And that tag will last forever because it's powered by the machine. So, and you don't have to worry about it falling out or anything like that. So that's what we do a lot of our mark recapture work, because the external tags, they're usually gone after 1 or 2 spawns because the spawning is pretty rough and they'll tear out and things like that. Telemetry, this is where it's getting exciting. So what I have here is a Vemco B16 telemetry tag, and I should have brought a receiver. So what we'll do is we'll knock the fish out using anesthesia. We'll do a surgery on its ventral side. We'll put this in, sew the fish back up, and let it go. And what this tag does is it will burst a sound as a unique burst frequency, and so you actually know what number the tag is. So this tag here will last 10 years. So you can track a fish for 10 years with just this little tag. But that's only half of it. You also need receivers, and that's what you have here on the right. Oh, shoot. The thing on the right, that's like the passive telemetry. So the best way to think about it is that this here is a smart tag, like on your car. And then you have these tolls out there. And we hang those off of people's docks, or we have partnerships with a Coast Guard. And that's a big group that handles the array. It's the Virginia Department of Game, Land, and Fisheries, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, VCU, the Army Corps of Engineers, because it's a big undertaking. So we all play a role in maintaining the array. And so I know these pictures don't come out very well. So once you have a fish tagged, you can, and you have your array out there, you can kind of follow the sturgeon's movement. So back when we had very little funding, people would adopt a fish. In other words, they would buy a tag. And so when they bought a tag, we would let them name the fish, and we would make maps for them. So this was actually Dino. This fish was adopted by a dental office in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm serious. I have no idea how they came about this. But so Fish was tagged right there around a Presqu'île, released, moved around, of course, you know, and this is just what it would do throughout the year. And we would send these to people, and they just loved it. We loved it. I mean, everyone loved it. And another thing is, another way this got started is with actually Prince George and Hopewell. There was Ann Wright got a education outreach grant that covered, I think, like 15 or 20 telemetry tags. So the schools adopted fish, classrooms adopted fish, and so we would provide them the data on where the fish was moving. And from what I recall and what I heard, that the students really, really liked it. So this will just be its movement throughout a spawning season. This is a male, so he will spawn multiple times with multiple females because he can produce a lot of sperm really quick. Because if you don't, you're not going to be ready to spawn, and then you don't pass your genetics on. I know it sounds terrible, but I could spend hours just talking about sturgeon sperm. It's actually very impressive if you get into the nuts and bolts of it. So, no pun intended. That's good. Nuts and bolts of sturgeon sperm. So, went up the Appomattox, went all the way up to the deep Pocahontas Parkway Bridge, 895, and then slowly left for the season. Now, we have our own partnership in the James River, but we also have partnerships throughout the Chesapeake Bay because we all use similar equipment. So when we tag a fish here and it goes up into Maryland or in the lower Chesapeake Bay, you know, those folks will be like, "Hey, Matt, we found fish 16910." And I was like, "Oh, that's a female. It's a fall female. We tagged back in 2013. This is big. This is how big she was," and things like that. We can get a better picture on life history when we all work together. And actually, one step further, these are all the areas, receivers, that have detected fish that we've tagged. And we have partnerships with people all the way up to Maine down to Georgia. And, you know, we all collaborate very well so we can provide a much better picture of what's going on here, because there's no way one group could afford to maintain an array of where these fish go. Okay, so that's tracking 1.0. Now we're going to go to tracking 2.0. Or actually, I think we're jumping up to like 5.0. So let me bring this up. Because this is really the
suspense is really
yes,
building.
This
Matt,
is
that tank
climax. Oh, you can tell there's a tank there?
Well, we know we have a bucket of water, and something's happening there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So behind me, right there, that solar panel and that piece of wood's blocking it. That is a Vemco live system. And what I have up right now on, am I still sharing? Can you see the map?
Yeah, we can see you, Matt. We can see the map.
Okay. No, the map.
We can see the map, yes.
Okay, beautiful.
The map
Okay,
and the map.
so you'll see those, you can see these 5 stations right here. This is one at Osborne. It says animal detected recently. This is the one that's at Henricus. This is the one that I'm attached to right here. So we really want to remember this one. This is R98. This is one that's at Sturgeon Point. And this is one that's at the mouth of the Chickahominy River. So, can I minimize this window? Yes. So, you'll see here on the right, so Dominion bought 2 of these, and we're partnered with them so they can actually modify their pumping to minimize their chances of hurting a sturgeon, egg, larvae, anything. So, this is really how this came about. And you'll see right here, if I click on this, 16 unique animals were detected on this today. And so Sturgeon Point, see, there's not a lot down there right now. We only have 2 there right now. Where I am right now, the 7 is about to be more, 155. So there's still some males hanging around upstream. Most of the females have left, and so it's nothing but really post-spawn females, post-spawn males upstream right now. I know this isn't coming out well, but you'll see right here, you see this number, 28299. We can click on this. That fish right now, or 2 minutes ago, was at Henricus Park. 7 hours ago, that fish was at Osborne. 1 month ago, that fish was right here where I am now. And you can actually click and visualize all the detections from this fish. This actually goes back to last year. It's going to be hard to do. I know, I'm sorry. So we'll zoom in here. And, oh man, this screen's going to, oh, hold on. Bubble color, purple. And the map. You have to bear with me. I'm really sorry. This is pretty hard to try to get what you guys, or to you know what I mean. I stutter. So
This is really cool, Matt. No, you're doing great. This is really cool.
Okay, so you see here all the way on the right, you see that little bitty blip. That's Sturgeon Point. Right here is the Rice Center. Right here is the one that's at 155, or it's at Henricus. Let's zoom out just a little bit. And then there's one up here at Osborne. So this is September 2nd, roughly right here. So you see that fish is right there at Sturgeon Point. We'll go slowly, as slow as I can, on a moving boat. Helicopter. So, oh, now it's moved up to the Rice Center. Oh, now it's all the way up there at Henricus and Osborne, just hopefully doing his thing. This is a male. We know it's a male, just going back and forth, spending a lot of time. This is all great spawning habitat. Going back and forth, lovely, lovely, lovely. Still hanging out. This is September 16th, spending a lot of time, hopefully spending a lot of time with a lot of females. This is kind of the peak of the spawning season right here. Would have been around like September 15th, we think, based on temperatures. So still up there, doing its thing. Still up there. Of course, we know it's still up there because it's we know it was up there 2 minutes ago. So I'm sorry, but that just blows my mind that now we can keep track of fish from a laptop in real time, and it's not only huge for management, but the education outreach aspect is just through the roof. I mean, I just get giddy when I talk about this. Uh-oh, how can I get out of this view? I gotta scroll down. Escape. Oh no.
I think your camera maybe, or your video feed may be blocking the X on the top right.
Oh, see, I can't see any of that. Poop. I'm sorry, I don't know where I'm supposed to be. I can't tell where I'm supposed to go. Escape. Oh, man. I know. Okay, guide me. Up, down.
A little to the right. And down and click. Right there. Yep.
Got it. Okay, teamwork. So, right now, these are all fish. This is crazy. These are all fish that are in the river right now that we can keep track of, all automated, by run by Vimco, Vimco website. Now, we're in talks with Vimco now because I'd love to make this a public site. I like the O-Search that you can track the great white sharks. I mean, look at all these. And this is just, I still get giddy about it. And, you know, some people, we've named fish after certain people who've done a lot, or people who still have tags. of that the people who have adopted fish and the tags are still going. But like this right here, this is a female that 11 hours ago was at the VCU light. That's the one that's in mouth of Chickahominy. We just installed that one like 2 days ago. And so it depends on how understanding your partner is. I mean, because you can be up at 2 a.m. wondering, when's the fish going to run? What are they doing now? Where is so-and-so? Like, where's the, I mean, you could, like, say you adopt a fish, you're like, well, where's my fish right now? Or where's the tag that you purchased right now? At 3 a.m. you could go, and if as long as it's within the receiver, you can, or you'll at least know its last detection. So, but yeah, we can tag adults, juveniles, males, females, all kinds of stuff. So the goal is to, I had no plan on how this talk was going to go, like the order, as you can tell. But how do I zoom out from this? It doesn't matter. So the goal is to get like 10 more of these real-time receivers in the James River and get a public website established where people can, you know, spring run, fall run, juveniles, which are in the river year round, just to really get people thinking, man, there's a sturgeon there, or within the within like a mile of these receivers. You know, I just think about the education outreach with virtual learning. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, I grew up in Prince George, right over there, and I think about if you were to, one of these 10-year tags, if you were to put that into a fish, and your class had that fish, like your biology class or however it's done, you put that tag in there, you could track that fish's movement until you graduated high school, because that's how long it will, if you graduate on time. I mean, if you fail in second grade, you get 2 fish, so that's a perk of that. So yeah, I'm excited. We're really working hard with VMCO, because it's really up to them, because they're the ones who are enabling all this stuff. We're just biologists who are out here utilizing their technology, and they are coming up with some really cool stuff, and stuff that I would not have thought it would have existed, you know, just a couple of years ago. So we'll go to the exciting part now, which, let's hold on. See what we got here real quick. Okay, so that's the new tracking, the new and improved ship strikes. All you folks who are on the water, a picture and a rough location is great. If you find it floating, just let us know where, and so we can get out as soon as possible, because this is massive problem, because these fish evolved to only a few make it to adulthood relative to what spawned, but those fish survived for decades after they reached maturity and spawned for decades and decades. You got relatively young fish getting killed. That could really cause things to collapse. And again, that's what these fish are right here. And we find boat strikes everywhere. It's not just upriver, it's not just downriver, or in the bay, it's everywhere. So keep a lookout, and there's lots of ways you can contact JRA, they can contact us, you can contact the VCU Rice Rivers Center, you can contact the the James River Sturgeon Facebook page. There's lots of ways that we can collect these fish, because we really do need to get a better idea, because we've done some release work where we've actually released morts, and the numbers don't look good in the fact of how many that we are actually salvaging, finding that of actually what's getting hit. I have no idea what time it is because my clock is covered. So
So yeah, Matt,
thank you.
We've got about 5 more minutes in the hour, and we can.
Oh crap!
That's all right. I think people are interested. We can probably hang on a little bit longer. But
okay. Okay. So we've got this website up now. Okay. Hub status. We're gonna click on. Oh, I'm giddy. There is a rain cloud coming as well.
do you want us to give you a drum roll, Matt, to prepare for that?
No, it's okay. Okay, so okay. So we're talking about that great 2018 year class. Well, I am happy to say that just a few hours ago, we were able to capture another one right here. And don't know if it's a male or female, but he's got a telemetry tag in him. It's, it has a telemetry tag in it, 24623, so we're going to release it right here and see if it gets detected relatively soon. So there he goes. And of course, everyone needs a friend. So we actually tagged another one right here. This is 24624. Yes.
Hey, Matt, if you lift it up a little bit, folks are saying they can't see it. A little bit lower. Perfect. There you go. Perfect.
Can't see my window anymore.
Oh yeah, nice side view.
Yeah, you see the scoots there. Oh, sorry, Bubby. You see okay. Keep going. So there they go. So let's see that most recent detection was 26730. That's a VAC. That's a Virginia Anglers Club. They actually donated to get a lot of fish. So let's see if one of them get detected, because their tag should go off any second. And I mean, that's just, it's just so cool. And Jamie, I'll let you guys do a poll. That tag, it's much smaller because obviously we can't put a massive tag in the fish of that size. So that tag will last 912 days. It's getting dark. So you guys can do a poll or whatever you want, and you can name those fish, and we will put their names on them. Oh, come on, update. Come on. And we'll give you because those fish should stay in the James for at least several more months, hopefully a year, because they're right at that stage where they start to go out to the Chesapeake Bay. So, but they should be back up here next year. So we can give you a little update every now and then. Oh no, it's not. 28299. I'm sorry. Oh, I was hoping it would update. I just blasted everyone's ears, I'm sure. Oh, 24623 already. Just released right now and already on the website. You can't beat that, man. You just can't. And and I'm 40, and but I act like a 5-year-old. That's why we're not having kids. That's why my wife said can't have 2 kids her whole life. But just to be able to do this, and you could tag some catfish. You could tag pretty much whatever you want legally. As long as you can legally do that. And now that is just so I'm going to be up all night wondering if these 2 fish go all the way down to Sturgeon Point. I'm pretty sure they won't go upstream, but if we could get some more receivers, which we're trying to get now, you have just not only an awesome management tool, but it's an education outreach tool you bet with your friends. Is fish 28299 gonna come back this year? And it's 28316 to come back. Oh well, if your fish comes back or both of our fish come back, I bet you mine's the first one here in June or mine's the first one here in July. I mean, I've been working with these things for almost 15 years now, and I get excited being able to track all these things, be able to keep track of these things in real time.
It never gets old.
Okay.
It never gets old for me, and I
can't believe that worked.
How it is for you. As they say, if you love it, you never work a day in your life, and you're the shining example of that, I think, Matt.
Okay, so
let me say, just
bridges up. Ships coming.
Thanks for everything you're doing, Matt.
I'm sorry that I know we're not talking. I'm sorry. I know there's questions.
Right. It's all right. I think we've really
and you try to time this and practice on this, but it never works right.
I think
it never works the time.
I think it was very enjoyable. It's such an honor that you're offering the naming too. We'll have to think about how we can get that input from those in the audience and maybe follow up with everybody later on what do we call these two juvenile sturgeons. But Matt, I don't want you to get it or in the bridge. So
Kelly Place and right. I can go look at all the people that I know.
We've got Chuck Frederickson, Albert Spells, a number of
Albert!
people.
Yep. Albert. Oh, where's Albert? I think Albert Spells was at R152 a couple of days. No, he left. Albert bailed. He retired and his fish left too. So, okay.
Any final thoughts, Matt? Final thoughts on
how I can answer any questions? I don't have any thoughts. I just wish I could answer anyone's questions that I have the ability to, but I guess I know we don't have time.
Matthew Thomas.
Hey, Chuckles.
You have learned how to talk.
It's different. I don't stutter as bad if I think I'm talking to just Tiwa on the computer. So this actually works pretty well for me.
There, brother.
Thank you, Chuckles. I miss you.
Miss you. Love you.
Yep. Matt,
you too.
Hey, one question. This is Bill Street. That was posted is how much does it cost to sponsor a sturgeon?
We're working on that.
Okay.
Because there is to maintain these receivers, not only materials to do it, but it's also a service agreement, and we're going to have to try to factor that in. And then there's the cost of the tag and the cost of putting them in, because people don't realize we are not getting funding to tag adults anymore. We get a little bit from Dominion. So we're working on that, and it's going to be a flat fee. It's not going to be, we're not going to, because we are going to be limited to how many we can put out a year, because we have issues with collisions, with tags bumping, like their signals colliding with each other. So we can't put too many out, even though that would be a good problem to have, that people want so many people want to buy one. But we're working on that, and plus we're not really going to do that unless we really get this system to go public, because I want people to be able to keep track of fish and not have me to make them an ugly map or anything like that. So Bill, I'm sorry, I don't know that yet, and that probably won't start until, because we did a lot of tagging in 2012 and 2013, and so those tags are going to be dying soon. The fish are fine. The tags are dying, and we're going to have to start replacing those. So we're looking to have this possibly going in fall of next year, but hopefully by 2022, and you guys will be one of the first ones to know once we get the details ironed out.
So you mentioned that you'd like to see 10 more receivers on the river as well. Actually, I think the question was, how much does a receiver cost? So what would it take to get those 10 more receivers on?
Right now, they're right at $7,000, and then there's an annual service with that. which isn't nearly as much. And the service is going to depend on how many you have out. So the more you have out, the more receivers you have out, the more the cheaper the service per receiver is. So I'd love 10. I'd love 15. I mean, you could put some in the Chickahominy. We could put some in the Appomattox. We also want to put some in the Rappahannock and the Potomac because, you know, we have fish moving all over. But we really want to focus on the James first. And with a total of 15, you know, we could kind of have pretty good coverage. But, you know, more is usually better. And I think it's better in this case as well. So yeah, we're working on that as well, and hopefully, yeah. Sorry, I really don't know what to say. I can't believe those tags came up, and that stuff actually worked. So, so yeah, we're looking at seven grand.
Very good.
I'm Mark Cochran, and I asked the question: do you all provide activities and so forth for the James River? And my question was answered, but there was something else I had to say. I'm sorry that my picture was moving around, like, you know, and you kept on seeing me do this. I had problems coming in. I was coming in a little blurry, but I figured out how I was making my picture clear. Do I look clear enough to every one of y'all, or do I need to make my picture even less blurry?
I don't know.
Do I look okay, or what?
Yeah, I think you're looking good.
We can see you, Mark. Yes.
Okay. And I mean, if I need to make my picture, if I need to get the blurs out of the picture even more, let me know, because that was real blurry a few minutes ago. But you think I look fine, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
I've got a big barge about to wreck me, so I'm gonna bail. I really email Jamie or JRA or the Rice Center or Facebook page if you have any questions, concerns, and because that's a big mamma jamma, and I'm stuck onto piling, so I'm gonna go.
That's a great.
I apologize. I'd love to have talked more or discussed more, but I can't see the clock in the corner of my thing when I'm giving a talk. So I have no idea what time it is. And when you practice, it's like 25, 30 minutes, but that never happens. So
thank you.
Lovely. It's really nice being able to scroll out through everyone's picture.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt.
So
thanks for your time, and be careful out there. Hey, let's give Matt a cheer, if you at least a virtual cheer.
Yay!
Woo, woo, woo! It's amazing.
It's awesome.
thank you, everybody. Again.
Don't get run over.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, Kristen, I'll hand it back over to you. You may be muted. All right, we get to watch Matt's return.
Oh, shit.
Awesome.
Kristen, you might want to mute Matt now. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Kristen, are you able to chime back in, or is your sound not working? I think we had a few closing remarks for folks. Thanks for hanging on this long. We still got 50 folks. That's great. We really appreciate you participating. We're going to sign it off here, and just some folks were asking, how do we get involved? We have tons of opportunities. We'll be following up with folks that registered over email. Some of the things we've got going on. We'll connect you to the to the VCU Rice Rivers Center as well, so you can learn more about Matt's amazing research and what the Rice Center is up to. But we thank you so much. Bill, did you want to toss any other remarks or anything in before we wrap up?
No, just thanks for joining us. And I think you can see from Matt's enthusiasm just what this represents for the river as well, that sturgeon need good, clean water. And so all of our collective efforts are really showing signs of progress. So let's keep it rolling.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Good night, everybody.